Hey guys, I'm winterizing our 2013 Coachmen Encounter 36BH today, and thought I'd try to capture as much of it as I can on video for you. I know that's kind of how I figured it out, was by watching some different videos from different people, but this will be, I believe, the third year now that I've winterized and got some pretty detailed notes, and I've got it down to where it goes pretty quick. So we'll have to move the motorhome to do the full winterization because I need to get it down by the barn where I have air. This is how I do it. There may be other ways to do it, but this has been working for me. So I'll show you what I've already done. I came in here and I cracked all three of these shut-off valves. These are draining the water lines in the camper, hot and cold, as well as the water tank that you would fill up for boondocking. And I believe the only one that really has water coming out of it right now is going to be the one with the tank. I think I had maybe 2/3, 3/4 of the tank full of water from our last trip that we took. So those are draining. It does take a little bit of time to get that water tank drained. Walk around here and show you. So I did that first. I opened up those valves. Then I come over here and I pull the water heater plug out of this opening here, and then I crack the high pressure relief valve like halfway. It keeps it open. That's closed. Just kind of crack it halfway just to introduce some air into the system, and it'll drain a little quicker. But this is a 10-gallon tank. It probably took all of a couple minutes to drain. Just make sure you shut that, otherwise when you turn it back on, you're gonna have water coming out. And then I also went inside the coach and I opened up all the faucets again, just to open up, add some air to the system and try to encourage that water to drain out of the system. So that is where we're at. I'll show you this plug. It was a 7/8 inch socket. I actually had 15/16 written in my notes, so I feel like maybe I replaced these at one point and the new one's a little smaller, not sure, but that was 7/8 inch socket. Did not need a deep well, but I just threw an extension on there and that got me in there where I needed to be. Deep well probably would have worked also. So all right guys, just want to show you what I use when I winterize the motorhome so that you can kind of try to have what you need when you do it. First things first, stay bill. I've written in my notes that I put 20 ounces in for a half a tank. I have an 80-gallon tank, so that would have been for 40 gallons. The math is on the bottle. It'll tell you how many ounces you need per gallon. So do what you will with that. I've used 2 gallons of antifreeze. This is about 1.5 gallons. I've got a couple more jugs if I need it. I'm just going to start with that. I have this fitting that I made. These are, I believe, 3/4 inch threads, Schedule 40 PVC. They're the same as garden hose threads. You can get those at any of your Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, anything like that. And then that's an air fitting that is threaded into the back of it. So this is a special, it's probably a test plug. If I had to guess, this white PVC is probably a test plug. So that you could test the air in the system. If I had to guess, it's been several years since I made this fitting, so I don't remember exactly. But what you need to do is be able to take an air fitting that'll fit your air hose, and you need to be able to thread it into either a brass or a PVC fitting that will thread into female garden hose threads. So that's what that is. That's so I can blow the water out of the lines. That again is that's the cap, the plug from the water heater. I've just already taken it out. That's why it's sitting here. That's your 7/8 inch socket with an extension and a ratchet. And then this clear hose here, this is what I hook to the water pump in the motorhome to draw the antifreeze out of the jugs and push it through the system. I'll show you that later. It'll make more sense. You can see this is kind of belled. Doesn't look great, but it works. It was just some hose that I had laying around. I might be able to tell you what it is. looks like it's a 3/4 inch OD, 5/8 inch ID vinyl hose. It was just something I had here, and so I was trying to figure out how to get that onto the fitting on the water pump. I ended up taking a butane torch, something to heat it up so that it would be real pliable, and then I was able to kind of form it around that fitting. So that's what this hose is used for. I just keep it and I use it every year. That's really all I can think of that you're going to need to do this project. All right, guys, I've got a great big 60-gallon, 5-horsepower, 2-stage air compressor, so I have no issues with pushing air for a while. If you're just using like a little pancake air compressor or something, you may have a tougher time. You may have to push some air and then disconnect it, let the tank fill back up, and give it a break, and then do it again. But you can see here, I've already screwed this. This is my city water connection. So this is blowing the water out of all of the air line, or all of the water lines inside the camper. I've just screwed that fitting that we made right onto there. And then, give me a second here, I'll hook this air up. So now that's just hooked up. You can see it's blowing the water out of the red and white pipe under there that are kind of sputtering. Those are the actual, remember I told you we opened those to drain the water out of those lines. So here in a minute, I'll shut those, and then actually before we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go inside, because I don't know how much PSI I'm pushing right now. I didn't check to see, but these lines are only rated for a certain PSI, the water lines are. And what we don't want to do, so that's already open. I opened that earlier, as I said. What I don't want to do is close all the faucets and then have that air running through there. So I'm going to open the shower, and you can already kind of hear that. It's got a little bit of air. Got some water pushing out of the shower. So I got that open. Open the toilet, you can hear it. Kind of trying to push everything out. But when we shut those valves outside for the hose drains, if we were to have everything inside shut, it would be trying to pressurize the system. And if I've got 120 psi running through that air hose right now, which I might have, I'm not sure, then we'd be trying to put 120 psi into the water system. And again, I don't remember what the PEX is rated for. I'd have to look. But your water pressure inside your house is probably in the range of like maybe 40 psi up to 70 or 80 psi. You start going up to 120, you're taking a chance of blowing your lines or your fittings. So you want to make sure before you start running air that you do have a place for the air to go, and that because all you're doing is just trying to push the water out. So you got to have them open to push the water out. So then we'll come back out here now, because these are probably good. We'll shut the red one off. It's just a 1/4 turn valve. And then I think it's this white one. I'll shut that, and you can hear the change in sound. That one that's open is my water tank. It's still trying to drain all the water out of the water tank. I told you it'll take a little bit of time for that. And then if we go back inside, I'm sorry for all the walking around, but it takes time, and feel free to fast forward if this doesn't matter to you. But you can start to hear and see the water just kind of pushing out. That's because that air is inside of there. You might go back and forth between hot and cold. I kind of had it on warm. You go back and forth to hot and cold, you might get a little more pressure on one side there. And then you can hear it in here too. Got that working. And then don't forget to push your toilet pedal, because that's the only way that water gets out, which means that's the only way that air will blow through your toilet. And you want that to happen to make sure you're pushing all that water out of the water lines that are in there. And if you have the wand back here, you might want to do the same thing with it. See all that water in there? Now it's being pushed out. And remember, that wand only works when you're pushing the pedal to flush your toilet. You can hear the sound change when I push that. So now we've got that pushed out. All right, so I just came over here. A couple things I wanted to add on the pushing air through the line. I just went ahead and unscrewed this because this is the very first thing in line when the water comes into the system. It goes through this first to filter the water. So I just took this off, and I'm gonna pull the filter out for the winter anyway, but you can see there's almost no water left in it. It pushed almost all of it out, but you are gonna wanna dump out whatever's in there. And then you'll wanna put this back on for the next steps because you won't be able to push antifreeze through the system. It'll just come right out. It'll come right out through here because that's the very first opening you're gonna find. And you know, the one thing I did not do, which I will do, is I'm gonna hook the air back up one more time just to make sure I get it all. And then we're gonna open up this outdoor shower also to make sure we're pushing the water out of it. The other thing, because in the next step, we're going to put the plug back into the water heater, and we're going to bypass the water heater at that point. But I have not done that yet because when we put the air on the system, we were also pushing some water out of the drain port on the water heater, which is important. You want to make sure you get all the water out of there because we are not going to put antifreeze inside of the water heater. We're just getting the water out of it. It's a big 10-gallon tank. If there's a little tiny bit of water left in there, it's not gonna, even if it freezes, it's a 10-gallon tank, so there's plenty of room for it to expand a little bit and not cause any problems. So we'll do that here in the next step. All right, you probably don't really need to do this because these are plastic threads on this water heater plug, but I always will put a couple of runs of Teflon around here just to make sure that it seals up 100%. It's not gonna hurt anything as long as you can get it back in there. You put too much on there, you won't get it back in, but that's all. I just put a couple runs. You wanna make sure you're going the correct direction with the Teflon. Otherwise, when you try to screw it in, it'll just unthread the Teflon. So you wanna make sure that when you're threading it in, it's going with the direction that you threaded the Teflon on, if that makes sense. All right, so now we're just coming back in here and we're gonna get this plug put back in. Make sure you don't misthread it. So try to feel it, make sure that the threads are lining up properly. It will cross thread easy because they're plastic threads. It's a little harder if they were brass or something. Then once you get those on, then you're just gonna take your socket and you're gonna snug them up. Again, easy to take a peek and make sure that you're not buried already because they're easy to strip because they're just plastic. So you wanna seat that plug. It should seat all the way till it's touching, but just make sure you're not continuing to go further than that because all you're doing at that point is cross-threading, or not cross-threading, but stripping out. So at that point, we're done in this compartment. Remember, make sure that you've already shut this if you opened it earlier to help it drain a little faster. And then you can go ahead and shut that back up. Everybody's water heater's in a different spot. My Coach, it was underneath the bed in the back, and this door was actually on the opposite side of the Coach. And so we had to lift the bed up, and then there was the water heater was under there. The drain was actually on the outside, but the water heater was actually stored underneath the bed. And then the bypass switch, which I'm gonna show you now, was there also. So this is a little trap door that Coachmen put in so that you could gain access. And you can see the shutoff valves here. And I gotta wrap my head around it. So as of right now, that valve is open. That's your hot water leaving the tank. Let's start down here. This is the white one. That valve is also open. If the handle is going with the pipe, then it is open. That pipe is bringing water into the water heater, okay? And then it goes through the water heater, it heats it, and then it comes back out through the red pipe, and then it goes into your system. So what we wanna do is we wanna bypass the water heater. And in order to do that, what we do, all right, so what we're doing here is we are shutting the water coming into the water heater here, quarter turn to the right, This is a quarter turn valve. See, now it's not with the pipe anymore, it's shut. Same thing up here, we're shutting it coming out of the tank. Now the water heater has been completely deleted from the water system. The cold water here is running this direction and it hits that valve and it stops. And then what we're gonna do is open this valve, quarter turn to the left. And now the water's gonna come in, it's gonna come up here. This valve is shut, so it can't go that way to the water heater. Now it's just gonna come right back. So now we're just circulating water through here. So if we run water in right now, we won't have any hot water anymore, and it can't get into this tank to fill it up. So we wanna do that next. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head over and I'm gonna hook the air back up now that we've shut the water heater and deleted it, and we're gonna push air through one more time just to give a little more concentrated dose of air through the hot water lines and push out any more water that we have. And you can see here, I mean, it's been 38 minutes, I would say, since I opened up that water tank earlier, and it is still draining. As I said, it was probably almost full, and I can't remember, I want to say it's a 40-gallon tank, but it is still draining pretty strong. And actually my next step would typically be that I'm going to take after I'm done with the air through the city water connection, I'm going to hook it up to the port here where we'll fill the tank, the water tank, with water, and we're going to push some air through that too. I mean, I can do it now and it may help push that water out a little quicker, but generally I would just wait till it's kind of down to a trickle or about done, and then I'll put it in there. It's probably not going to do much. You're pushing a bunch of air into a big 40-gallon tank, so it's probably not going to do a lot, but I just do it just to be safe. So let me hook this air back up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Hook the air supply up to this water tank filling port, and you can see what it's doing. And I tell you what, when I hooked it up, that water did start to come out a little faster. So it did, I would say it helped. I don't know that I'm gonna necessarily leave it on until the water's done. I'll probably take it back off of there and see what it looks like. So I've disconnected the air, and looks like we're getting down to the last little bits of water in that tank, but you can see it kind of settle down now. But that air definitely did pressurize it and push that water out a little bit faster. I'll probably just wait till it's about done, and then I'll hook it back up again. Looks like we're getting real close. So all right guys, I'm gonna do my best here to show you this on camera. You can see that's your water pump. So what I'm gonna do is reach up in here, and this blue, it's a little difficult to get to. You pick up on it. You pull up on that, you can pull this water hose right off. This is the intake side of the water pump. So it's pulling water from either it's pulling water from the water tank that is on board, and then that pump turns on, it pulls water through this hose and then pumps it through the other side here, and it pumps it into the that comes actually right into this hose, which runs through the filter and then runs all the way into the system. So what I'm going to do is I've taken that off. You see all I did was pick up on that little blue plastic tab. It's pretty simple. And you pull that off of there, and then let me think, how do I do this? And then I think I unthread this from this line, this little black. I'm unscrewing that. See, it just popped off of there. A little rubber O-ring here, that's what slides back into the pump, and then that clip comes down into that groove and holds it in place. So what we're gonna do, if I can figure out how to, so what we're gonna do is basically just push those threads into our tube here, and it should be good enough. And then what we're gonna do is come back up here, and we're gonna push that back into the pump. And again, this is my way of doing things. It's just hard to get yourself situated here. And I can't see, I'm doing this all by feel. Get it in there, push that back down, and that is now fastened to the pump. You don't need to take that out. I do it because it's easier, because I can actually see what I'm doing. But technically, if you can just unscrew that, that supply line, that water line coming into the pump, if you can just unscrew it from that nipple, then you can just push your line on, and you don't need to actually take the fitting out of there. So now I got this hose, comes all the way out here. And then what we're gonna do, and I will say that the more antifreeze you have in the bottle, the better. When it starts getting real low is when I experience problems trying to get it to pull it. And now on my coach, I've got the pump right here. And actually, so right now I took that off there to be able to get in there. So you can see it's trying to, gotta move it around a little bit. Okay, so I've got antifreeze coming out here. That's fine. That means it's doing what it's supposed to do. But unfortunately, what that means, we put that back up on, but we're going to fill this entire thing up with antifreeze before we're going to be able to get it to go to the fixtures. It's going to have to fill this entire canister up with antifreeze before it'll move on. So right now that pump is running, and it's just pulling antifreeze right out of this bottle. And again, just keep an eye on the bottle, because as it gets too low, it'll stop pulling to start to see air bubbles in the line, like right there. For whatever reason, it's decided it doesn't want to pull. So then what I'll do is I'll go inside. I don't know if I still have anything opened or not, but we'll go inside and we'll make sure something's open in there for it to push the water to. So I'm gonna shut that. I'm gonna shut this. Got everything shut except for the kitchen at the moment. So this isn't, there may be an easier way to do this, trying to get that pump to pull liquid out of the bottle. Sometimes is a little bit of a pain. Could be because I don't have an airtight seal up in here. That's not like a perfect seal. It's decent, but I'll get this rolling, and then I'll show you what's going on. So obviously I was having some trouble here with the pump, and I apologize for that. At the end of the video, I'm giving one tip on something you could try instead. Something else you could do, which you'll see here in just a minute, is just take the submersible pump, and you could pump the antifreeze directly into the city water port, which would push it through the entire coach. All right, well, for whatever reason, I was having trouble getting good suction from the pump into the antifreeze bottles. So I had to do something different this year that I have not done in the past. Not sure what the difference was. I don't know what I did. But anyway, what I did is I have that hose, nothing changed there. This is just stuff I had laying around. I'm not trying to make this complicated, but this is just stuff I had, so I made it happen. So this is a garden hose with a 3/4 inch nipple sticking out of it already, with female ends on the, or male ends on the hose here. And this is an old washing machine supply line hose that I had laying around. So I just hooked those up, and I had a brand new 1/4 horsepower submersible pump that I purchased for something else, still in the box. I hadn't even used it yet. Pulled it out. They come with 3/4 inch male fittings on the pump, so I hooked the washing machine right to it, and I plugged it in, and I just pumped probably a gallon of antifreeze into the system. I turned the pump on inside the motorhome, and it was running for a while, and then it stopped because the system is right now under pressure and it is fully pressurized. So I've already run antifreeze out of the outdoor shower, and now I'm going to go inside, and I unplugged the submersible pump because it had already pumped almost all the fluid out of the bucket, and I didn't want to run it dry. So I did that, and then come in here. There's the hot side, there's the cold side. So we've got antifreeze flowing there. Hot side, got antifreeze. Cold side, they have to probably out of pressure. It's flowing out of there, just can't see it. So I got it in both places there. Turned my water pump on. No, not sure. See if that was enough, because I don't have the submersible pump on. There's hot water side. There's cold water side. So we do have antifreeze in both of those lines. Pumps back on. There's antifreeze at the toilet. And I'm gonna pull this wand out. There's antifreeze running through this at this point. Again, I'll turn that pump back on for a second. It's good enough. As long as we have a little bit of, all we need is a little bit of antifreeze to come through the lines, and then even if there were a slight amount of water left in the lines, it's also now got antifreeze in it. But I mean, we took it the extra mile and we blew the lines out, and then we ran. So there's no like standing water in those lines because we blew them out, and then we add antifreeze as well. So nothing's going to freeze in there at this point. So now we have antifreeze through all of our plumbing fixtures. So now the last thing I'm going to do, and obviously I'm sitting on a major incline right now, so that's not going to go down the drain. So you're going to want to sop that up, or I'm actually going to relocate this motorhome and it may end up going down the drain on its own. But before I walk away from it completely, I am definitely going to sop that up. Otherwise it may leave a pink stain in your shower or your sink or whatever, and you don't want that. So all the water lines are good now. We feel good about that. We're gonna, that's the wrong one. Open that one up, you got antifreeze. Open the hot side, you got antifreeze. So I know that everything in there has antifreeze in it, or has been coated with antifreeze, and is kind of in the lines. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So next thing we'll do is take whatever antifreeze we have left. This is where 2 gallons might have been nice, because you can see I don't have much left in there. And you're gonna pour it down every one of your drains. The toilet, yeah, I'm gonna put some in the toilet. I'm not as concerned because that's just going into a holding tank. There's no trap on the toilet, but there's a trap on the sink, there's a trap on the shower, and the kitchen sink also has a trap. So we want to dump enough antifreeze down there that we're pushing the water out of the traps, and we're left with nothing but antifreeze in the traps. That way they won't freeze. And then after that, your water system is 100% winterized. I realized that I mentioned the stay bill. Obviously the stay bill has nothing to do with winterizing the water system, but I will put that stay bill in the fuel tank, and then you're going to want to turn your coach on. If you're winterizing a coach, you're going to turn your coach on, and you're going to want to run that. I mean, ideally it'd be nice if you could just drive it up and down the driveway a little bit, or just around the block or something, just to mix that stay bill into the fuel. And then you're going to want to drive your or run your coach for I don't know, I'd probably run it for 10-15 minutes and just let that stabil get into the gas lines, so that all the fuel is affected by the stabil, just so try to preserve it. So other than that, I think you're good at that point. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know. But I think that you are fully winterized at this point. The other thing I will do, I've emptied my tanks before we left the last place we were at. So the only thing in those tanks right now is going to be maybe a little bit of water and antifreeze. So I am going to probably go ahead and pull my plugs and let the water out before I pour the antifreeze into the tanks. And then at that point, all right, so obviously there's some antifreeze already in there because we ran it through. I'm gonna pour it down both sides, although they share a common track. So just pouring a little bit down both sides. And then again, that stuff's probably not gonna go anywhere. So I'm gonna come in with a rag and I'm gonna get it all cleaned up. And then you're gonna do the same thing in this shower drain. Make sure you get, I don't know, you wanna get enough in there that you're filling up that 1.5 inch trap, pushing the water out and getting antifreeze in there, at least getting some antifreeze in there with the water so that it can't freeze. And then same thing with your bathroom sink. And then again, you might pour a little bit down the toilet just because it's not gonna hurt anything. Also, if you leave a little bit here at the top, that will keep your rubber ring. If you pour some in and then don't flush it, I would probably clean it off of the surface of the toilet, but just let it rest down there around the ball. And I don't think it'll stain bad because it's porcelain, but it's going to keep that rubber ring around the ball lubricated, so it's less likely to dry rot during the winter time. So here you have it. Hey, I appreciate you watching the video. If I can answer any questions for you, feel free to reach out to me. I tried to be as detailed as I could. I apologize that the water pump wasn't working the way that it has for me in the last couple of years. Not sure why I was struggling with that this year. I was running out of time, so I threw an audible and grabbed the pump and made it happen that way. But technically, and there's some slop in that hose, and that hose is a little probably bigger than it needs to be. You could take a plumbing supply line from the hardware store, like a faucet supply line. Like you could get a 30-inch one, so it's long enough. You could cut the end off of it and screw the other end onto that plastic nipple that goes into that water pump, and you compress the blue clip. You could screw it onto that so that it's actually got a solid connection with a rubber washer, and it's a little smaller diameter hose too, which means it may create more suction out of your antifreeze bottles. But maybe try that hose that I'm using. I think is a 3/4 inch hose. It's pretty big, and so that's probably has something to do with why I'm having a tough time creating suction. I've always had trouble. This year I was not able to pull it, and I'm not sure. I started out pulling and then it stopped, so I don't know. But that submersible pump worked really, really well, and you could pick one of those up for, I don't know, probably $60, $50, something like that, maybe even cheaper than that, and you'd have it every year when you're ready to do the project. So anyway, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And if you want to like my page, subscribe. I can't say that I'm regular, but I will anytime I'm doing like a little project around the house or messing around in the barn doing something. A lot of times I'll grab the camera and shoot you a little video just to kind of show you what I'm doing. So appreciate you watching. Thanks.